used to boast about our land, saying we have racial integration. We told the world that our country is an example of love, peace, and racial harmony. But all that's now a fake. The country club issue made us wide awake. But that's a drop of water, my friend, in an ocean of discrimination. So please, won't you tell country club? And what must you tell them? Master, day, master. We want no racialism in our countries, no prejudice or color. Must divide in this land, must belong to everybody. So tell the Portuguese club to come on our island, to hell with Junction and Chinese Association. These lands only has room for us West Indians. We want no division. Master, day, master. Country club is joke, there are many more. Our banks give us loans based on our color. You get certain lawyers to defend you in court. The color of your skin or prestige is your passport. Massa in hotel, drinking rum and whiskey, and he living swell. And the poor man catching his tail, and if he thief to live, they throw him in jail. So please, won't you tell them massas? I want to hear you say, Massa, day, Massa. Amen. Too much nepotism going on in these islands. Carnival and Christmas, reminding all them Syrian, and they won't spend a penny to help ISO and Steel Band. Won't you tell the Ministry of Education, stop lining up our children in hot sun, waving flag to some Englishman or Canadian? I am making fun. Master, day, master. Let's face the facts, brother, look around. Some youths have jobs, others have none. To get a job, poor girls have to sin. While in most stores and banks, you see one race and same skin. Rich men getting away with cockfight churches, gambling on Harvest Day. And police in your tail whole day, if you only play wacky and living. So tell the police that's discrimination. And what is my message? Master, day, master. Amen. Mister, don't you call yourself no white man or no Syrian. You're not a Chinese, Englishman or no German. Everyone living in these lands are all West Indians. In all them big shot hotels like in Hilton, there is the price of drinks to keep out the black man. But we go still by them folks and bring in the rum. We are making fun. Master, day, master. Governments in the Caribbean must now put a stop to all of this sin. It is time to stop massa. Everyone must be free to live and enjoy rights here. No more exploitation. Have respect for labor unions. Pay good wages and benefits. It's time that massa should take his exit. So please, won't you tell the authorities? I want to hear you say, Smiley, Master, day, master. newspapers all over the Caribbean. Stop printing comics like Handbrake and Plaza, because they degrading the dignity of the black man. And we in the Caribbean have got to know that we are colonial leaders must all go with revolutionary same skin. Rich men getting way with cockfight churches, gambling on harvest day, and police in your tail whole day if you only play wacky and baby. So tell the police that's discrimination. And what is my message? Master, they must die. Amen. Mister, don't you call yourself no white man or no Syrian. You're not a Chinese, Englishman or no German. Everyone living in these lands are all West Indians. In all them big shot hotels like in Hilton, there is the price of drinks to keep out the black man. But we go still buy them folks and bring in the rum. We are having fun. Master, they must die. Governments in the Caribbean must now put a stop to all of this sin. It is time to stop massa. Everyone must be free to live and enjoy rights here. No more exploitation. Have respect for labor unions. Pay for wages and benefits. It's time that massa should take his exit. So please, won't you tell the authorities? I want to hear you say, Smiley, Master, they must die. Amen. And tell newspapers all over the Caribbean stop printing comics like Handbrake and Plaza, because they degrading the dignity of the black man. And we in the Caribbean have got to know that we are colonial leaders must all go with revolutionary thinking is to really go. Let us stay up, son. Master, they must die.
Oh, yes, Massa Day must done. Massa Day must done. The use of Negro by the police officially has to go. Massa Day must done. In 2024, 58 years after independence, the police are still referring to black people as Negro men and women. That has to go. Massa Day must done. Massa is not just a physical person. Massa is a phenomenon. Massa is a representation of slavery, colonialism, indentureship. Massa Day must done. We black people, we African people, must be called African people. We must be called African Guyanese. And it is not for Anil Nandalal to define for us who we are. I will not define for East Indians who they should be and what they should not be. We are on record here as saying Arrival Day should be what the coalition wanted it to be, Indian Arrival Day, in recognition of our Indian brothers and sisters. And they should be Portuguese Arrival Day in recognition of our Portuguese brothers and sisters. And they should be Chinese Arrival Day in recognition of Chinese arrival. And emancipation must be African emancipation. We are saying, let's get it right. And so for an East Indian leader to be justifying the use of the word Negro to describe black people says what's going on in those people's minds. And I have said it here, and we have said it so many times. Looking for an explanation as to why the present PPP leadership is behaving the way it's behaving. We don't have to try to manufacture and invent an explanation. The explanation is there. It's coming from a deep place. Nandalal has a sense of caste. He has a sense of caste. He called himself Chatri, that he's a warrior. In Hindi, that's what it is. In a certain caste. Nandalal's thinking is grounded in caste. And the African, the black person in the caste system is at the bottom, the untouchable, the Dalits. So when he says he sees nothing wrong, then he's trying to justify the use of the word Negro by police. It doesn't come from his mouth. It comes from somewhere deep within. That is his worldview of what skin color means. Because caste and race is about putting meaning to skin color. That's what it is. And so Masade must done. The use of Negro by the police must go. It must go. Nigel Hughes today wrote to the ERC asking them to deal with the matter. They wrote back to Nigel Hughes quite quickly to say that they are discussing the matter. The use of the word Negro must go. It is part of the contempt for the darkest among us. And we black people must not be complicit. We must not be complicit in our degradation. Good evening to all of you, wherever you're joining us from. Good evening. People have been telling me that Miss Vashti from Peters Hall, she's on these programs. I didn't know that. I didn't know that Miss Vashti was on. Miss Vashti, I was not aware. Good evening to you if you're on tonight. Good evening to you if you're on tonight. Good evening to all of you. Good night to all of you. Thank you all so much for standing with us, standing for yourselves. It's another day. It's another day in hell. But hell is and must be a transient place. It must not be permanent for us. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101 on a Friday night. We are doing it. We just today had the memorial service for Oscar Clark, former General Secretary and Cabinet member of the People's National Congress, but a real patriot. I had the pleasure of being there at a packed congregation at the St. George's Cathedral today. It was nice to see so many people who I've not seen in a long time. It was nice to run into brother Robert Corbin, who spoke at the memorial service. And I mentioned Corbin especially because I have said on this program before that the APNU, the formation of the APNU, was really the brainchild of Robert Corbin on the PNC side and Dr. Rupert Rupnarayan and Dr. Clive Thomas on the WPA side. They are the real architects of the APNU that we take it for granted today. And when Corbin was negotiating with the WPA, the formation of the APNU, there were 3 people who would accompany him. And I saw all of them today. Basil Williams, God bless him. I know, some of you, how you feel about Basil, but Basil was one of the persons who was always there with Robert. Lance Carberry, who I saw today, I didn't get to go across to him. He's not as well as he used to be. Lance Carberry, former member of parliament, he was at Robert's side. And you know the third person was Oscar Clark. It was the four of them who believed in the APNU. Don't worry about all the rest who were there and jumping up. They didn't believe in it. Robert Corbin believed in it. And it was Basil, Lance, and Oscar who would accompany Mr. Corbin. He was the architect. And those were his troops. I remember one day, it was Clive Thomas, Rupert Rupnarine, Takumo Gunse, and Desmond Trotman, who would represent the WPA. And whenever I was in the country, I would join the team. And I remember one day we went to Congress Place for one discussion. And when Robert saw me, Robert was there with Basil. And he picked up his phone and he said, Oscar, come down. The WPA bring reinforcement. I need reinforcement. And Oscar came down. Oscar was the general secretary, so he was always at Congress Place. But I want to say one other thing about Oscar Clark. I remember when we WPA people started going to Congress Place, it was a strange feeling. Those of you who know the conflict between the WPA and the PNC, it was strange. When you were going into Congress Place, you felt that you were going into a strange place. And I remember Oscar Clark was the person that made you feel that you were going into a family building. He was such a nice man. He was such a nice man. And he made it easy for us to make that transition and to get accustomed to going into Congress Place. And I suppose somebody on the PNC side, because the negotiations actually started at Rodney House in the WPA office. Because the forerunner to the APNU was something called the JOP, Joint Opposition Political Parties. And the AFC leadership used to come, the PNC leadership and the WPA, and the talks used to be at WPA office in Queenstown. And I suppose Corbyn and the other PNC people would say the same thing. They might have felt strange coming into the WPA place. And by the time we transitioned from the JOP to the APNU, a lot of the APNU talks, by that time the AFC was no longer part of the APNU talks, were held at Congress Place. And Oscar Clark really made us feel comfortable. Rest in peace, my brother. You have fought the fight. You have played your part. And you've left a legacy and an example for the rest of us to follow. It was good to see everyone there today paying tribute to a quiet soldier, a quiet patriot. Oscar would always comment that, by you resemble me, you sure you're not me outside, son? Our relationship had gotten so close that we could share those light moments. Wonderful person. Like I said, it was good today to see Robert, and I call Robert Corbin's name all the time because I want to say publicly that I think at Robert Corbin being at the helm of, and this is no disrespect to those who were the head of the APNU AFC government, but if Robert Corbin had been at the helm of the APNU AFC coalition government, I think we would have been in power today. Because the big issue, if you talk to AFC leaders and you talk to WPA leaders and even PNC leaders, part of our problem when we had power was that we didn't manage the coalition properly. It was not managed properly. There were still those who believed that when we got power, it was the PNC power. the big party power, and they treated the AFC and the WPA like little boys. That even though the AFC would have had a lot of seats, they did not have the kind of decision-making clout, because there were those in the leadership of the APNU who still believe in the big part and what you bring to the table. And part of that is that's what got us where we are today. The cybercrime law, which we're going to talk about tonight, let's be frank, the cybercrime law was enacted under the coalition. And I can tell you the WP had nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. It is a bad law. It was enacted by our people. And of course, the PPP said it was a bad law then. And now they're in power. They're using that law to crush the opposition. Politics is a funny thing. Politics is a funny thing. I am sure the coalition people meant well. I am sure that the coalition would not have used the law the way the PPP is using it. I am sure of that. But when you're making law, you're not making law for the best of us. You always have to think about the worst in us. And perhaps people did not believe that the PPP would have gone as far as it has gone. As far as it has gone in using that law to really crush the opposition. Good evening to you all. We all know by now Kidaki Amsterdam is home. He has been on bail, he's back at work, and he's back at the struggle. And the Guyana Morning Time is back on. Welcome home, our brother. And I would like to thank all of you. As I said in a program that I was on today, where the host was asking why people were not on the streets and so forth. And I want to reveal that as the point man, the WP appointed me as the point man to deal with the matter, that I got calls from people, some of you I see here, I see Sister Emily, I see Sister Rhonda, I got calls from young people in Buxton, I see Brother Dennis here. People were calling me and asking, when are we going to demonstrate? And I had to take a decision not to jump there. And that yesterday, we had called what we call a crisis meeting in the WPA, because we were anticipating that they were going to bring him to court on Friday. And we were anticipating that they were going to try to remand him to prison and not give him bail, and that we would have to take action. And so in a sense, what we were doing was to hold our people back for another day, because we knew at some point we might have to go on the road if they were going to put that brother on remand. So I want to let the nation know that people were ready to go on the road. Young people, young women calling me from Buxton, Mr. Hines, Dr. Hines, I don't tell mommy I don't bathe my skin and left my children them and we going down to town to demonstrate. And mommy, they say, call you first. And I had to hold those young people back. So I'm revealing that now. People who say that what people don't do on the street, because we didn't want to walk into a trap that was set for us. We wanted to determine when we go on the street, because they were expecting people. And as leaders, sometimes we have to take the decision. So we knew that had they gone a certain route, we would have had to go on the road. And we could say that now. We could say that now. The other thing I want to say is that Kidaki is on $200,000 bail. And every cent of that bail money came from you all. It came from your $5, your $10, your $20, your $50, your $100, and some of you gave more. That every cent of that bail money came from you all. So when people are washing them out and say, Guyanese people, why you all do, I want to say that you all took charge of this situation and that you all were ready for the road. But we didn't want to be stupid. We want to be careful and not walk into their trap, because when we were ready to go on the road, we would have been going on our terms. So I just want to reveal those little pieces of information that was not revealed before. In fact, when I picked up Kidaki yesterday from after he was released and I dropped him home, they were waiting for me in the WPA, because the meeting should have started an hour and a half before. We didn't anticipate that he was going to take. So for those of you who thought that Kidaki got locked up and we weren't doing anything, I want to put that to rest. Put that to rest. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. I love you all. I love you all unconditionally, not uncritically, unconditionally. Let me bring in my guest this evening, my friend, my brother, Dr. Adams. How are you, my brother?
Oh, not really good. I'm really saddened and sickened by the news of a few days ago coming out of Guyana with our brother Kedaki. I know, relatively speaking, we did get some good news yesterday that he was released, but it should sadden every single Guyanese and make every one of us sick as to what is going on in Guyana, and we need to put our full support behind this young man. But let me say, greetings to all of our, good listeners, and I too am elated and feel honored to have Ms. Vashni on as one of our listeners. I didn't know that either. She is obviously our heroine, and we hope that we can make her stronger. She's already a very, very strong woman, obviously, but we hope that the little help that we can give, especially being from afar, the words of encouragement that we can give her would make her stronger, because she is making us stronger by her actions on the front line and on the firing line, and she's willing to stand up even when it's by herself and fight the egregiousness of this government. So Ms. Vashni, we really appreciate your good work, and keep the fight. We are standing with you. But I'm glad to be here. The other thing, Dr. Hines, I can't let these things go by me without making a comment here. You mentioned Robert Corbin. He's another
Yes.
Christian born man. He's a Christian born man. So I'm glad that he was able to attend the funeral of Mr. Clark, who's one of our iconic figures in Guyana politics and PNCR politics, and so I would also like to extend my condolences to his family.
Thank you very much, my brother. Like I said, it was so good to see people of all walks of life there today. And I would like to say thanks to all of those of you I was able to touch flesh with. Some of you I could only say hi, because there were so many people you wanted to touch base with as you were there, and I had to rush home to do a program with Brother Norman Brown, and so therefore it's never enough time to really touch flesh with everyone. But I want to say to some of you I did not get to go across to, that it was not a slight. It's those things happen when there's so many people, and some of you know how to do the thing, and we were able to do the selfies and so on that have become now part of the political culture and so forth. We are going to come back to the cybercrime law and Kedaki, my brother. But we want to start this evening, with what is taking place in your hometown. And I'm talking here about the flooding of Linden. And they're estimating that over 300 families were affected. And my brother, I always like to say politics is not just about elections and the party. Politics actually begin with people. And, you know, the person who taught me 99% of what I know politically, Brother U.C. Guyana, I remember small boys, he would teach us about the back dam and drainage and canals and so on. And you couldn't make sense at that time because in our heads, politics is politics, right? But as you grow older, you understood why Guyana always insisted that we learn about things like drainage and agriculture and where the coca is and what time the coca does open, and if you get a flood, why it got flood. And recently, the company trench in Buxton that you must have heard about, because they say if you come from Buxton, you got to drink company water. It's the main artery there in our village. It went dry. And Guyana was asking me, had I heard? I said, yes, I heard. And he was telling me why there's no water. And he's explaining to me. I called Kedaki, who, of course, was on the ground. And Kedaki is explaining to us, well, there's no water here. And Guyana is able to tell Kedaki why the water is not there. And Kedaki was able to verify that. I am making that point to say that what happened in Linden is not accident. What happened in Linden is willful neglect. And you are a scientist. I don't like to use the term engineer and so on. Right? And I got to be careful because Guyanese, when they use scientists, that does mean your science, but they also mean spiritual science. But we talking tonight about your type of science. And so, as you watch that flood there, as a professional engineer, as someone who knows about that, talk to us about why what happened in Linden is not an accident.
Well, it's a combination of incompetence and politics, vindictive politics. Of course, I'm not there, but just based on the reports that I've been getting, those things should not happen. Here we are. Let's go back to where we're spending all of this money, $666 billion. We tried to hoodwink the folks in Linden to say that the PPP is doing a whole lot of good, and you just dump some I guess cement and tar and stuff like that on the road without proper road construction. So I don't know if you saw some of the videos, Dr. Hines.
Yes, I did.
Where I've never seen on a hillside. Normally the water would drain that hill, the road, one of the roads that they built, the water was a few inches thick on a hillside. So you can imagine on a hillside, the water would normally run off really fast. So if you got a water piling up on a hillside while it's running down, that's a lot of water. Which means, and then when you get down to the details of the people, the residents there, they're showing you where there is no side drains on the road. So all of the water is washing down the road, and it's like a river flowing. It's like a big river flowing down the hillside. But the thing is, if it was just flowing down the hill, I guess you could have gotten away with it. But because it's a hillside and it's all sand, and the homes, the people modest homes that they built, they labored hard to build these roads. It's on the side of the roads and it's built on top of sand. So guess what? The water has washed away the side of the road, undermined the road, and then washed away it's washing away the houses because it's built on sand. So that, and then on top of that, when you look at the places that are flooding, we should not have any flood, any type of flood, if, like, getting back to you, if you have properly designed drainage. But you see, the competence of this government to start with, they believe that they can just show this shiny object of sharing out money to their supporters and going in there, chopping down all the trees. You remember when this guy was threatening Vanessa Kissoon, they were chopping down fruit trees. I can't remember how many fruit trees Vanessa Kissoon said that they were just chopping down. You do not chop down vegetation. That's part, the vegetation is what helps to hold to hold the soil together to prevent erosion. So what is happening now? They want to plan for this big celebration and stuff, and they're cutting down everything in sight. And when the rain comes, it washes all the silt into the trenches that are not maintained. So what happens is common sense. You don't got to be even an engineer to know that, because even the guys who were in some of the videos that I saw, they have no engineer, but they got a little common sense. And they identified and diagnosed what the problem is. But however, it's getting back to trying to buy the folks of Linden by dumping, giving them this money, say, okay, take this road and hand out a few thousands of dollars to buy over some of your support. And then going back to the community, you cannot tell me that they did not realize that this here will happen. And it's a community, of course, that supports the opposition. So it's a lot of things mixed in there in terms of negligence in cleaning out the drains in the canal. You are absolutely correct. I grew up right next to Coco. And, it's amazing when I look back at the development in engineering, where Cocos could automatically open and shut, depending on the height of the water that comes in. We used to have a guy dedicated to sitting on that cocoa at a certain time to open that cocoa, and it used to control that type of flooding. We never used to have that type of a flooding. And now here we are in this age of technology, and engineering and everything else, and science. It's gross incompetence. There's no planning. We've got the money. We don't know how to spend it, and we're using it in some very, very bad ways. That now we're seeing what the results are. And then the vice president gets on television and the first thing they try to do is blame the rain.
Yes, blame the rain and then blame the PNC.
Absolutely, blame the rain and the PNC that didn't do anything before. But yes, when you look at the facts, it's totally opposite. When we look at the flooding, you remember when they just a few years ago when we had this massive flooding. When you check, you can ask Patterson Minister Patterson, they put into place maintenance activities and routine maintenance to make sure that these canals and cocos are clean. The equipment is maintained. All of that was abandoned by the PPP when they came into government. So now we've got flooding all over the darn places. Not only Linden, there's flooding. The road going to Let Them, that has also been washed away. And I'd be willing to bet you it's because you have to have drainage. If you do not have drainage, that is why, Dr. Hines, if you notice all roads, they have a slope, right? To direct that water into, if you direct the water off of the road into a side drain, some type of a drain to get it off of the road. None of that appears to be on these roads that they're building. So I mean, they're sadly, there will be more to come. Trust me, there will be more to come.
More to come. And Linden, that is happening at Linden, given the fact that they were just there last weekend, celebrating independence and, telling the world and telling the Linden people about development. God not sleep. God not sleep. He was listening to them when they talk about development. And then the flood happened. What development? And I think for some of our people, they watch the outward shiny things. And they say, look, Guyana is being developed. I hear some educated people who support the PPP. You come to Guyana and you look all over and you can see things are happening. You can see roads are being built. I wonder when they look at Linden, if they call what happened there development. And so our people have to be very careful about these outward shiny things that they're calling development. In a sense, when you look at the flooding of Linden, to use Walter Rodney's term, is being underdeveloped, not developed. I'm on the East Coast, and the first thing I noticed on the railway embankment is they start to do the 4-lane road there. And I noticed they're throwing sand in the canal that is running parallel to the railway embankment. And I don't know nothing about engineering building roads, but something ain't right to me when I see you throwing sand in a trench. And I am saying to myself, well, the water, the sand,
That's right.
the water got to go somewhere if you throw And then I was somewhere last night or night before the last, and I hear people talking, well, stupidness, that throwing sand in the trench and the water flooding up people yard. And I said, but I now know that I am stupid. I now know that I am not stupid. My brother, what kind of backward technology that is going on here?
Like I said, Dr. Hines, this here is not about developing Guyana. You would like to you would like to be generous and call it incompetence, to be honest. But this is beyond incompetence. This is about filling their friends and families' pockets. Look at the contractors who get the work. That's where we ought to start. Look at the people who get the work, such as, the critics of the world, without any qualification, without meeting a single criteria for selection, without meeting a single criteria. So those are the people. It's all about, it doesn't matter. They have, first of all, they have very little knowledge about anything that they're doing, but that's not what it is. They're going to do whatever it is to fill their pockets, to fill their friends' pockets and families' pockets. And that's what, but then we, meaning the people of Guyana, have got to suffer the results. The other thing, Dr. Hine, let's go back to Linden and look at, well, even Georgetown. All of those communities that vote heavily for the PNCR, they're withholding resources for them, for the local authorities in those communities, such as the mayor and city council, for them to do work. That's one of the biggest complaints coming out of these municipalities in Georgetown, in Linden, and I'm sure in the other black areas. They're not even getting the money to even do the day-to-day maintenance that they're responsible for in those communities, except the government puts in, I can't remember how much, it was a large sum of money that they spent for this show that they had last week up at Linden. Well, take that, somebody said, why didn't you take that money and give it to the community to develop those resources, and infrastructure to prevent this flooding? And if they've taken that money and invest it into drainage and irrigation and those type of things, we would not have had a flood. But they had their big bash, hell, bringing like somebody said, like, I can't remember how many.
87 buses.
87 buses into Linden. Maybe they're the ones who damaged the roads probably too. But anyway, they came in there, brought in these buses, one big show, and then when you leave, this is what the people are left with. So that's what's happening in Linden. And then you're going to turn around now and blame the local folks in Linden who run the local authorities and stuff. That is their fault. Because if you notice, the one thing that you can say that this government is really consistent with, anything that anytime something happens, they blame everybody, even God. They blame for the rain. It's because of rain. It's God work. It's not the word. That's what we're dealing with. It's incompetence, and just a lot of times it's just callousness because they really don't care. It's not a case where it happens once and you would think, well, okay, we're going to learn our lesson. It happens over and over, Dr. Hines. So that's why you've got to say it's now become a habit of willfulness, because you cannot see in any responsible government or any responsible party, something happens once, it happened twice. You're going to try to fix it, but it keeps repeating itself, and they keep repeating, blame everybody else.
Blame everybody else. How the PPP underdeveloped Wisma, Mackenzie, Linden. how the PPP underdeveloped Linden. Before we continue here with Dr. Vincent Adams, I would like to thank some of you for contributing to the Kedaki Amsterdam Defense Fund. And make no mistake, I mean, they have indicated that they are going to come after Kedaki. As last night that I reported here, that they have made a decision, and Anil Nandalal is the executor, that they are combing Politics 101, Bostonian Morning Time, and they're looking for anything that they can find so that they can bring charges against Kedaki, myself, Dion Abrams, Takuma Ogunse. We understand that they are engaging the police, bullying the police to bring charges and to get the DPP involved, and that Nandlal is in charge of that operation. And of course, Jack Dio let the cat out of the bag when he said at his press conference that the WPA is an extremist organization, that we are terrorists. Now, in this day and age, when political leaders make those kinds of statements, they know exactly what they're doing. We would like to thank Marlene Samuels, and Marlene doesn't mind me calling her last name, Mr. Cetred G, Keith F, Keith, my brother. Stay up. Thank you very much for your contribution. Lynette D, thank you very much. Slater J, my countryman, thank you very much. Lloyd P, thank you very much. Himwati Panchan, thank you very much for your contribution. Himwati and Cheryl, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jacqueline, for your P, for your contribution. Ainsley M, thank you very much. Mary H, thank you very much. Joan W, thank you very much for your contribution. There are others who I have to thank, and I will do so in the course of the program before we leave this evening. For those of you who are wondering how you can make your contribution, the information is on the screen. The WhatsApp, PayPal, Cash App, and the Zelle information is there. The phone number and the email address attached to the Zelle account. They're there on the screen, so you can make your contribution. Thank you very much. And like I said, this is boots on the ground. Every cent, that $200,000, $1,000 that they have put Kedaki on bail on, every cent of it was contributed by you on this program and the Bostonian Morning Time program. Big yourself up, because they always say that Guyanese people docile. This is not docility. This is activism. My brother,
yeah,
I was standing with Nigel Hughes at the Ramfeld police station. They'd removed Kedaki from CID, and they took him over to the station there. They were booking him. And the policeman was reading to him the accusation, and he referred to him as a Negro man, Negro male. And Nigel, in his quiet, measured, Nigel not a boisterous man, his quiet, measured way, he said, he's not a Negro. He's an African Guyanese. And he's not going to answer to anything that is referring to him as a Negro. I was standing there with Dion Abrams and a lawyer, a young female lawyer from Nigel's law firm. The four of us were there. And there were about 8 policemen and women standing around as Nigel quietly said that to them. And, there was a hush. And, it occurred to me, what a moment. Here were young African Guyanese policemen and women who were not even conscious of what they were doing. It's a day-to-day thing that they refer to other people as Negro in this day and age. But it had the desired effect. It said to me, David Hines, you're not wrong. in trying to help to give black people some consciousness. Help to give black people some. You're right. All those who are calling you racist, all those who are saying that you must talk about Marxism and socialism and class, and you mustn't talk about race, if they were here to hear a policeman referring to an African man as a Negro, they would recognize that the kind of work that we are doing in trying to give African people consciousness is so needed. The rest is history. Nandalal, of course, opened his mouth as an Indian man trying to justify black people being called Negro. Those chaps are so insensitive. At the least Nandalal could do it as an Indian man is shut your mouth. But he felt that he had to justify why black people are being called Negroes. Nigel wrote to the ERC. The ERC wrote back today to say they're beginning the discussion. We are joining the campaign to remove the use of Negro from all official proceedings in Guyana, starting with the police force. My brother, your thoughts on that issue?
Well, let me first address the Attorney General Nandalal, and I've addressed him in several of my missives, my letters to the editors, because he was one of the operatives within the PPP whom I had respected while they were in the opposition, to be honest. But I guess this power drunkenness and conversion to arrogance has just changed some of these folks totally, where they've just become heartless. They've been sold on this dictatorship thing, and they believe in this imperial being that they thought that that they hold themselves, their imperiousness over and above a certain sector of this society. So I'm really disappointed in his behavior to start with. But like you said, I was, when I heard that it was the coalition government that owned this law, I was totally shocked. And without repeating some of the things that you said, I mean, it's probably the most naive action that they took, because the PPPC was against it. But now, when you said they're using, I say they're abusing the law. Because what you hear coming out from the coalition, well, we never expected. But you're in politics, so that's why I said it's naive. But this party, this government here, is abusing the law. Now, the way that I understand it, and you're on top of the details much better than I do. But what I heard in terms of the facts of this case, I don't think anybody in our society, whether you're PPPC or PNC, would understand why would this guy be hauled into jail for days and be punished in this way. That jail house, I saw him, what he was saying in terms of the squalor of, and it's just, they were just holding him. He wasn't even sentenced. But here's a guy, somebody called into his program and talked about violence or intimated violence, and as soon as they were finished, he said, no, I do not agree with, I do not condone violence. However, I can't wait to see the back of some of these folks. Hell, I use me and my colleagues, and even in our profession, we use that term all the time. Can't wait to see the back of certain people. It means that you can't wait to see them retire or to leave. Dr. Hines, even on the cricket field, we use it all the time. If a batsman is tearing us apart, you're glad to see we say I can't wait to see the back of whoever it is. So this here is sheer foolishness and abuse of power that they're going after this young man. But of course, we all know what the objective is. It's to silence dissent and to stifle our free speech in this society. I mean, this guy, Jack, let's go back. This guy remember this guy was trained, he was trained in Russia, and he had even tried to, well, a lot of folks were trained in Russia, but when you leave there, you come back to your principles, your basic fundamental principles, etc. Not this guy. Remember, and don't let people should not forget, this is the same guy who pulled one of his Putinese stunt, tried to pull one of his Putinese stunt on us when he was fighting. Remember, he went to court to do a third term, an official third term. That was exactly what Putin has done, and now Putin is there probably for life. But you remember, Jalgil went to court to serve a third term. Of course, unofficially, he is serving in a third term as head of the government. So, but this here is so, it's so despicable what this government is doing. It's dictatorial, and it's the stifle dissent and free speech of this country. And we have got to stand strong with our, not only with our brother, because folks don't believe that it's gonna stop at brother, at our good brother here. They're gonna go this year, and they're also testing the waters to see how far they're gonna be able to get. And we have got to stand up. We have got to stand up, because you give them an inch, they're gonna take an entire mile.
That's right.
And,
that's right.
I really appreciate, and I think I can speak on behalf of the entire diaspora, because you feel guilty sometimes, Dr. Hines, that you're here and you're not on the front line battling these type of things. But I've got to give really great thanks to yourself, Dr. Hines, and of course our attorney, our eminent attorney Nigel Hughes, for standing up. And going back to this Negro stuff and Master Days, the song Master Days was done. I thought that Master Days were done since I was a little boy. I saw Master Days in Linden under the Bauxite Company, where we had a gate where people like myself couldn't go past. It was right after you passed the hospital.
Yes.
And when we became independent under Forbes Barnum, if nothing else, what Forbes Barnum gave us was that pride of being somebody. Because before then, you never thought that you never thought that you would even cross that barrier, because all the staff and all the folks were obviously white and foreigners, and the only people who could cross that barriers are maids and servants, etc., who had their quarters that they lived in up there. And when that happened, when that barrier came down, we became independent, and we had that sense of pride. And people like myself started getting those jobs out there as what we call staff men or managers. It was a great day, but we thought that we were now in control. But when I see what is happening here, and it's not only here with the police, it's the same thing that is happening in the oil and gas industry with people like Mr. Rutledge from Exxon and them. They're dictating to us what we have to be doing. They've colonized us again. But even within our own midst, I cannot believe that young African Guyanese are standing there and are reading this thing saying Negro, and it doesn't faze them one bit.
Yes.
I mean, what's the type of education and upbringing? I thought that was it's like you would thought that things are organic. It would by this generation, everybody would be sensitized to those type of things that you never those things should be unheard of. But
those things should be unheard of. Those things should be unheard of.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily endorse.
I guarantee you, Guyana will be the happiest and the healthiest place.
When the caller made whatever, we don't know if this caller was paid by the PPP, and they're notorious for doing certain.
So there, the only thing could move them out is the last breath to be taken. They are so monstrous. It's beyond explanation. That's the girl who sang that song for the love of just want to be in the competition. Look what they did to her. What more would they do? You tell me, man. This is not yesterday's story or last month's story. This has been going on for years. These things are embedded in these four monsters. You got to get rid of them some way, somehow. As long as they have breath in Guyana, this will be the trajectory. They got to go by any means possible. This is not going to work for Guyanese. We will sit down and talk until we become aged and we can't talk anymore. And the generation that comes after us will do the same thing, because these four criminals, they are going to enshrine in the others who are following them to do the same thing. So it will be something that will be perpetuated throughout. Look, I don't know what more to say other than to insist that these people's head be taken off. Thank you. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you for your call, your contribution. I don't necessarily endorse the promotion of violence, but I do subscribe to the fact that Guyana could very well be a better place if we see the backs of some politicians.
All right, let's take a pin.
There we have it. There we have it. There we have it. There we have it, my brother. There we have it, viewers. And Jack Dio sat up on his press conference yesterday and said that Kedaki Amsterdam said that the president must be beheaded. The president, I mean, if that is not libel, and it's more than libel,
yeah,
you're criminalizing that gentleman. You're criminalizing Kedaki. No, Kedaki Amsterdam did not say that. A caller made this comment. Kedaki said there, I do not subscribe to the promotion of violence. The words never came out of Kedaki mouth. Yet Jack just sat up there and said that. Who is the one that is promoting violence? Because now suppose now East Indians take it upon themselves to see Kedaki and to say, Kedaki, you are promoting and saying to behead our leader. And they're now going to inflict violence on that man. Jack Dio would be responsible. And this is, the police put out that video. They stopped the video at the point when Kedaki is making the disclaimer. Jack Dio knows better, and he's placing those words in Kedaki's mouth. Dr. Adams, help me out.
Well, I hope that Kedaki take it very seriously, because I will. I would have. I hope he take it very seriously, because that, to me, that is slanderous. It's defamatory in terms of even putting the, like you said, putting his life at risk. With some, there are all these kind of crazy people who might want to go and take revenge out to Kedaki. Now, let me, and for Jack Dio, this guy is such a blatant liar, but that's the way that he thrives. Listen to what he said in his press conference of yesterday. This is the guy this is what he lives by. This here is his mantra, by the way. Listen to what this guy said. And if he's making this statement and he knows that he's lying, he believes in it. It says, if people tell you a lie and they repeat that lie enough, then many in our society will tend to believe that lie. He knows that. That's the reason why. So he's just, what he's doing, he's just reflecting exactly when he makes that statement. He knows that he's lying, which means that he believes in that statement. But this guy, I hope that our good friend Tadaki is taking this very seriously, and he should take legal action. That's a serious and dangerous um, um, accusation made by the president, by the vice president, putting those type of words into Tadaki's mouth.
Brother Selwyn Peters is on here, and he's a lawyer. And Selwyn is saying that we should not be repeating that broadcast online. And I am not going to argue the legalese with Selwyn. All I'm going to say to Selwyn is that that broadcast was put online by the police. It is the police who first put that broadcast online, Selwyn. It's not me. It's not Kedaki. It's not Mark Bentrup. It is the police. We are basically playing it not to repeat what the caller said, but to clear the name of our brother, for the world to see that our brother said he did not endorse it. Selwyn, I'm not arguing law with you, but I want you to know two things. One, it is the police who put that broadcast online, made it public. Second, that we are not, and I think I hear what you're trying to get at, that we should not be repeating what the caller is saying. But we have to repeat what the caller is saying in order to repeat what Kedaki said. And sometimes we have to be even-handed with these things. I think I sense what you are saying from a legal standpoint. And I just want to say, we are not the ones who put it in the public sphere. And we are not repeating the broadcast to repeat what the caller said. We are repeating what the caller said in order to clear the name of our brother, because it has repercussions. Brother Kedaki did not say that the president should be beheaded or anybody. So we just wanted to make that clear.
And Dr. Hines, I think that the other benefit of making sure that the audience sees the entire video, especially when they tried they did not show the part where Kedaki says that, hey, you know what, I don't agree with violence and that type of stuff, and all we want to see is the back of these folks, which means that was deliberate. When you cut it off at the point of the caller, when the caller was finished, to me that's deliberate. So what I think, again, I'm not going to argue with the attorney there, but I think it gives the people the whole story rather than the piece that was released, where it would appear that if Kedaki was agreeing with him when he actually came back and clarified, hey, I don't agree with violence, and the only thing what I agree with, what I prefer is that to see the back of these people, which means just getting them out of office. So I think by you showing both sides, it gives the audience a better perspective.
Yes. Adam Prasad is saying, Dr. Hines, it doesn't matter how it got online, the fact it got online. Adam, let me tell you something here tonight. Nothing gets me more mad than when people trying to make me a damn fool. It matters how it got online. The police put it online. If you are trying to indict me for playing something in the public sphere, and you are telling me it doesn't matter how it got there when the police got it, you're trying to make me a damn jackass. And it's one thing my auntie tell me: cuss me mother, cuss me father, but don't try to make me a fool. It matters who put it online. And the police are the one who put it online. Don't get me dread here tonight. Don't insult my intelligence. Anyhow, back to you, my brother. They wanted me auntie always tell me, cuss me mama, cuss me daddy. Don't try to make me a jackass. Do not. You're trying to say it doesn't matter who put it online. It matters the police put it there. So if you all want to say it's wrong to be there, go talk to the police.
Yep. Yes.
Dr. Adams, what's happening with oil and gas? We can't not talk about that.
Well, I noticed here, a couple press conferences ago, the Guru Vice President Jack Deo, when he was cornered about this exceeding the safe operating limit, which is dangerous to Guyana and the Caribbean, The environmental impact assessment says it sets a safe operating limit. He has Exxon operating about 35% above that operating limit because of greed, in contrast to the coalition that followed the law, followed the regulation, followed the safety rules. They've decided to ratchet it up, and you're putting the entire country at risk. So here we have the EIA says there's a certain operating limit. He has Exxon operating at a certain, which means that he has Exxon violating the laws of this country. How could you have in the EIA? Well, then you don't need it. Why are you doing an EIA? If the EIA says one thing, but you're exceeding, especially when it comes to safety. So when he was confronted by the media and questioned about it, he said, well, I've been advised by the EPA and some of his other experts that it is technically okay. Well, that's absolute nonsense and another big lie that he's peddling, because EPA has not a single person with not even 1 hour of training in anything to do with petroleum, much less petroleum safety. When I was head of the EPA, I brought in a safety manager who worked in the United States. He wanted to come back home. He had, I think, 20 years experience or something in safety working in the United States. We brought him home, and of course, he was at the EPA as our safety manager. And as soon as I left, he along with a lot of others, they even either got rid of them or they left. So we do not have a single person at the EPA that has any background whatsoever in oil and gas safety. And now the vice president is coming and trying to fool the Guyanese public that he got advice from the EPA's expert. That is it's an absolute lie. But let's challenge the vice president, which is what I keep. But he's never responded to any of my challenges. Mr. Vice President, if I am wrong, come out and tell us who is this person that portion or portions that provide that advice from you from the EPA, and let us see what was their analysis. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So don't come here and try to kerfuffle people and try to just to please the master Rutledge of Exxon to increase your production, that you're coming and telling people, just feeding people a bunch of lies. So that was the key thing. The other thing that he keeps, waffling around is the latest estimate on the reserves. The people of Guyana deserves to know what they own. This is not the PPP reserves. The people of Guyana need to know what reserve is there and what money is in the bank that reserves bring for them. It is their money. So you can't tell me 2 years ago, the last update of reserve was 2 years ago, over 2 years ago, as a matter of fact, when it was 11 billion barrels. And in those days, every time you get a new well, almost the very next day, they used to update you with these reserves. Since then, they've drilled, I think they've listed like about 20 new discoveries. Now, a discovery doesn't necessarily mean that you have additional reserve. But Exxon is clearing themselves because Exxon says, I'm providing the Guyana government every quarter with updates as to what the new reserves are. And the Guyana government, Jadwe is getting up every week and coming up with some stupid excuses. And so he owes the people the information to tell them, it's their information, to tell them what are those reserves, the updated reserve. One, you hear this guy, I can't remember the guy's name, that says his information told him that the last information he has is that it's 15 billion barrels. And of course, Jagdio is he's not denying the 15 barrels, but at the same time he's saying, well, we're getting these reports, but he's just waffling around stuff, and it doesn't make any sense. As incoherent, doesn't make any sense what he's saying. But that's the kind of thing that we're dealing with in Guyana, where the people own these reserves, they own the money behind those reserves, but the government is hiding this information from them. And the reason is because they don't want for people to question them about their own money.
About their own money. Dr. Vincent Adams here tonight. And I just want to say, Brother Selvin, I consider a friend. And I am not questioning Selvin's wisdom. In fact, I think I understand what Selvin is saying when he's saying that tape should not be broadcasted. I'm just trying to say to Selvin that he must take into consideration that for the first thing, that the tape was put in the public domain by the police, that we did not put it in the public domain. In fact, the police put the tape in the public domain without the disclaimer by Kidaki. And we are only playing the tape, not to repeat what the caller said, but to fill in the gap that the police left out.
Yeah.
And also to clear the name of Kidaki that is being dragged through the mud by Jack Dio. I understand what Selvin is saying, and Adam, what you are saying, that the tape should not be played. I understand, but I'm asking you all to be contextual and not to make it look as though some or the other we are playing this tape in violation of something. The police put the tape in the public domain. As to the other point that you are making, whether Kidaki should have cut the caller off, I am not prepared to debate that now, because the matter is before the court. If the matter were not before the court, I would debate what you all are talking there. I am not prepared to debate that now, whether he should have cut the caller off or not cut the caller off. Leave that for the court. All right? So I am not questioning whatever legal wisdom you all are bringing to bear. But you all, I'm saying, please put it in context, lest you make people believe that we are being malicious by repeating this tape. We are not. The police are the one who put the broadcast in the public domain. And then they proceeded to malign Kedaki's name by saying it is Kedaki that says that the president and ministers should be beheaded. And we are playing the tape in order to disabuse the nation of that, because people are saying that. I have a very good friend who called me and said, man, Dr. Hines, you don't advise your members that they can't say certain thing in public. I said, what you mean, girl? You don't advise Kedaki, man. He couldn't say that they should cut off the president's head. And then it's when I realized this thing has gotten legs, doctor, right? That,
yeah,
people hear the vice president say it, and they believe it's true. And so it is important for us to play this broadcast to clear up, because anything can happen to our brother. Anything can happen to our brother. If people continue to believe that he actually said to go and cut off the head of the president. He did not say that. Whether he should have cut off the caller or not, I am prepared to wait for the court to deal with that. I am not prepared to debate that, because the matter is before the court. This is the last I'm saying on this matter. Selwyn and Adam, thank you all for your contribution, but please do not try to put the burden on me or anybody to do what is right when it's the police, according to your logic, who violated whatever you all are talking about by putting the thing in the public domain. It is the police who did it. And it is Jack Dio who put words in Kidaki mouth. And I cannot sit here and allow that to pass. My brother.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm also not a lawyer, but I also have I think I've got a lot of common sense and reasonableness, and that's what the law is about for the most part, Dr. Hines. It's about reasonableness. And all you were doing, like you said, it was put there into the first place by the police. If anything is being violated, the police is in violation to start with. But what you're doing, you're putting the other side of the story that they left out. So you're telling the full and true story to clear this young man's name, because the impression out there is that this man said what the vice president claims that he said, which is libelous. So to me, from a common sense standpoint, and I can't see why that would be unreasonable for you to do something like that. Like, again, it didn't originate from you. It came from the police who played it. All you're doing, you're just putting out there. Had it not been, if they had played the whole darn thing, I don't think that it would have been necessary for you to replay to replay it.
There
So
you
I
go.
don't see anything. I don't see anything wrong with what you did.
There you go. Thank you very much, Vincent, Vincent D, Kenneth D. Thank you very much, Sandra G, June S, Clem T. Thank you very much, Denise Sint and Sharon E, for your contribution to the Kidaki Fund. I know there are others who I have to get to. I don't know whether I'll get to them before we leave tonight, but I would like to thank them in advance. And of course, if we don't get to thanking you all tonight, we'll do so at the next broadcast. Dr. Adams, your closing thoughts, anything that you badly want to say that I didn't get to ask you about?
Well, of course, we've got another important problem with the teachers' strike.
Yes.
And that's the other thing, that it doesn't seem to be making progress. And that's the other thing where, I was on we were on, it was very encouraging, Dr. Hines, myself and Lincoln Lewis we had a panel yesterday discussion on Zoom, and very encouraging. We had over 400 and something teachers, and we were there for 3 hours, from 4 till 7, and we gave our presentation, myself and Lincoln, and we had all kinds of questions, and so it was very, they really sucked it up, and but the one thing that we emphasize, and I think Lincoln is working on, is to make sure that these teachers are not by themselves. We send out a challenge to the other unions to join, because this government, which is what we emphasize, this government, again, they will continue to push it to the limit, and they understand that if the teachers are out there by themselves, they may want to go on forever, but let's say tomorrow the nurses come out, or all the public service workers come out, that strike will be over in a few days. Trust me.
That's
so
right.
we've got to get the joining of forces with these other unions, and our brother Lincoln is working on that. But the other thing is, so when we were done, of course, Minister Priya got on. I hadn't seen it because I'm not on those type of social media. She got on, I guess, our web page, and said, well, they're listening to 2 pensioners, which is me and Lincoln. First of all, that's, I know she used it in a derogatory manner. And if it's about age, I am proud to be at the age that I am at. And I think it's discriminatory, but it doesn't matter to them whether they discriminate or not. But, I would not discriminate by saying, by calling fat people and telling them how fat they are.
Yes, yes.
And so it's it could go both, but I would never say, well, how fat people are, because that would be discriminatory also.
Yes.
So I wear it as a badge of honor that I'm she, in terms of pension, because first of all, I do not collect a dime of pension from the government of Guyana. Not that there's anything bad about it. But why would you want to demean pensioners to be talking about pensioners in such a derogatory manner, but you can tell where they come from. They discriminate not only by race, but also by age and everything else. So I wonder what happens if we discriminate against fat people. What would happen?
There you go. But when this is part of the PPP's modus operandi, when they cannot deal with you,
yep,
in terms of reasoning and intellectualism, they then resort to that kind of thing. And I said that about Jack Dio. Jack Dio, rather than try to jail Kidaki or jail me or jail whoever else, come and debate us on the issues.
Yep.
Come on, let's talk about policy. Don't, because you feel that you can call the police and tell them go jail Kedaki, or go jail David Hines, or jail. So you're going to do that. You're a coward. Because if you were not a coward, you would come and debate David Hines and debate Kedaki on the policies, on the issues. These people are not governors. They are old-time feudal rulers who believe that God has ordained them to trample upon other human beings. So they take the way, you're a pensioner. Huh? She will be a pensioner tomorrow.
Yep.
She will be a pensioner tomorrow. You know? So because you're old people, because we are old people, we have no more uses in society. No,
that's correct.
I mean, what manner of people are these?
But I tell you what, Dr. Hinds, this is not bragging, but she knows that she cannot come close to matching with any of us. She or nobody in that government, none. I challenge any one of them. If they want to call folks pensioners, let them go right ahead. But you're right. They cannot debate the issues. They're not smart enough to debate the issues. So they got to slip down into the gutters to drag you back into the gutters with them.
To drag you back into the gutters with them, I would like to thank the following people: Lennox M, Clement C, Tamika N, Jacqueline P, Donna R, Jean W, Mary H, Mark F, Ingrid H. I would like to thank you all for your contributions. And like I said, for those of you who would like to contribute to the fund, the information is on the screen. What are Cash App, PayPal, and Zelle, they're on there, and you can make your contribution. I would like to thank my brother, Dr. Vincent Adams, and to thank you, the audience, for staying with us another Friday night, another night. When the history of this period is written, it will show that we were not sleeping, that pensioners and non-pensioners together, we were making our contribution, and we were doing so in the full sight of God and man, and that we were not shirking our responsibility. We were doing what we were put on this earth to do, and we contributed with our lives gainfully. And even in retirement, we are not turning our backs on our people and our country. Dr. Adams, continue to witness for your people. You have already been blessed by the Almighty, and you will get more blessings, even as a pensioner. Good night, my brother.
Yes, and let me close by just saying it, and the reason why I'm obligated, I and you and others like myself, it's because it's those pensioners before us who held our hands and brought us here. This is our turn. But you see, the PPP government does not understand that.
Don't understand that. Disrespectful people. Thank you, my brother.
Hey, take care.
I'm going to see you on Sunday.
Yes. Yep.
I'm going to see you on Sunday.
It would be done by then.
The day will be done by then. And we hope we will have good tidings to spread.
It'll be better.
Yeah. But as you always tell us, in this T20 cricket game, all it takes is one bad over.
Yeah, I know.
Hey. All right, see you on Sunday.
All right, take care.
Right. And to your audience, thank you so much for staying with us. Thank you so much for believing in yourselves. And my brother Selvin and Adam, stay good and continue to come back to Politics 101. And I will see those of you who are cricket fans. We'll see you on Sunday night at 6 o'clock. The first game, West Indies versus Papua New Guinea at the stadium, should be finished by the time we come on air on Sunday night. We hope the weather holds up, and we hope our boys do what they are supposed to do. Rally round the West Indies, because we are what we are, and that's the way it's going to be. That's the way it's going to be.